Hey, Gator Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the Respect Our Decision podcast, guys. As always, I'm your boy Hirsch. With me, CJ the Man McCann.
What's up, guys?
Our main man, the hype man Wes, not here with us right this moment, experiencing some weather up in his area in South Carolina, man. Some power outages up there. Hope all is well with him. He said if he can join us in the middle of this show, he will. If he doesn't, he'll catch y'all next week. He wants to remind everybody he's leading the bracket for the Respect Our Decision tournament madness. He's bragging while he can because he's got Florida in the Final Four, and obviously that's going to cost him. But as always, guys, make sure you go out there, download the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. We're available on every provider out there. Please make sure you download it if that's your way of listening to this episode. And if you're checking us out on YouTube, guys, if you haven't already, and look, man, the numbers ain't adding up. The math ain't mathing. A lot of watches, not a lot of people dropping that subscribe. So if you haven't already, man, drop a subscribe on the channel, guys. It is free of cost. Won't cost you a dime. Drop a like on the video if you like the content, man, and leave a comment down below of what player you are most excited about so far from what you've heard in spring practice, because in a minute we're going to be talking about, obviously, spring practice. And, guys, one last thing. If you haven't already, man, now is as good a time as any to sign up for Florida Victorious, guys. Basketball portal is about to be blazing, and Florida is going to be hot and heavy in the basketball portal, guys. So go check out Florida Victorious. Use code DECISION. Save 20% off your first month and help out with the athletes here at the University of Florida, guys. You can direct where you want your funds to go. Do you want it to go towards football? There's a drop menu option for these things. Football, basketball, baseball, gymnastics. Hey, everybody, Florida gymnastics, best show in town, gymnastics wise. So hey, now is as good a time in. If you're a big basketball fan and you're kind of, I didn't like the way the season ended, but I see some good things out of Todd Golden. Man, I'm telling you, word on the streets, Florida is in on some big time transfers. Obviously, Kugel hit the portal today. That opens up another spot. Let's go fishing, baby. Help out. Code decision. All right, guys. We want to start real quick and just take a moment to address the as I lose my train of thought here, the commitment status of one Mr. Keon Young. We talked about it on what the upcoming Pod of the People episode, and that will be out Sunday for you guys. Keon Young the other day, on 3, Hayes Fawcett announced, Keon Young, safety out of Lakeland, commits to Florida. This is a guy that we've had our eye on. It was a big opportunity for Florida. And then about an hour, give or take later, it came out, no, that this he's not committed currently. That was we jumped the gun. Not happening. And I know there's a lot of rumors out there, and we just kind of want to quickly address this as to what we feel like the situation is going on here. Because obviously we talk about recruiting all the time, and a lot of people are like, oh my God, you can't alienate an athlete from Lakewood. This is a great safety in the state of Florida. Lakeland, not Lakewood. I'm thinking I'm in Atlanta and about to go to a concert at Lakewood Amphitheater back in the 90s. Y'all, I'm old, man. My brain is shot. You can't do this with Lakeland. It's a pipeline for Florida. So many great athletes. This, I believe, from what we've heard, is a situation where Billy Napier has not said, we're not taking your commitment, but rather, hold off for a minute. We got a plan. You've seen Billy Napier in the past here as far as Friday Night Lights, the summer when we were getting all the visits, and let's see. What's another example, CJ? I know there's been a few different instances where Billy has.
Oh man, there's been like games that we've had where we've had a bunch of guys.
And that's it. It's one of those things where Billy's once again what the thought process is he's trying to wrap up momentum into one event. Now, is that the spring game? Excuse me. If I had to guess, yeah, that probably is what it is. You've got Florida Victorious, sponsoring or brought to you by the spring game is brought to you by Florida Victorious this year. They've got a lot of big things planned for that day. A lot of recruits in the building to watch the orange and blue game. This feels like one of those things where you call the kid up and you go, look, Keon, we obviously we want you to be a Gator, but we had a plan, and you kind of got ahead of our plan a little bit. Now, were you able to smooth that situation over and Keon say, okay, cool, coach, I'm down with that. My bad, I didn't realize it. Maybe somebody should have told me beforehand. Because obviously he's coming off of a visit last week to what while we were practicing. So, CJ, what are your thoughts on this? And do you feel like maybe that there was a plan in place here, and maybe we just jumped the gun?
I'm pretty convinced of that, just for the simple fact of it doesn't make a lot of sense not to take Keon Young because he is a good player. He's a high rated player. He's from down the road. All his film looks great. It just doesn't. You wouldn't make any sense to say, hey, there's not a we don't want you. We were just kind of keeping you on the back burner. I don't believe that that's what happened at all, because that just doesn't make a lot of sense. I think it was really a situation where Billy wants to have 2 or 3 commits that he can spread out at one time or over the weekend, because it looks good. Yeah, I mean, you see, the sunglasses emoji. You got people like Josh Payton on 3, and those guys. We saw it last year where you get a bunch of commits at one time. They're like, "Oh my God, Florida is cooking. It looks really good. It gets more eyeballs on the program." And that's his goal. Then I get that. You know, I think that maybe there was some miscommunication, maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe the kid silently committed, and Florida said, "That's great, that's awesome." So we're just gonna, just hold off on publishing that. Maybe he didn't understand that that's what they were asking him to do. Maybe he just wanted to commit and didn't want to just tell the coaches first. He wanted to like surprise them. Maybe that's what the idea was.
16-year-old kid, man. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you're looking at kids that they want an edit made. They want to surprise people. They want
social
to
media presence. They want,
their brand is bigger now for these high school kids than I think it's ever been. It's very important. So stuff like this helps. It gets you Twitter followers, Instagram followers. That stuff matters in today's day and age of how valuable you are, as far as NIL and monetary value goes. Uh, I think that's one of those things where he's just trying to get ahead of the curve. And it wasn't in Florida's plan. Now, does this hurt us in the long run with him? Maybe. I haven't been told that specifically, that they're just like, oh yeah, this dude's pissed off. I haven't read that anywhere, so I don't really know. But I feel like it was like a part of it. It's like a plan. Just hang on. We want you to commit with this guy and this guy. That way we have all 3 of you, and I can commit. You can get the commits on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Maybe we want to do some big thing at halftime of the spring game like they did last year. And if I just like I said, I don't believe this is a situation where they looked at this kid and said, we really don't want you, because it just doesn't make a lot of sense. If they were able to do enough damage control and really explain to them why they told him, hey, the commitment's not official yet, then I think we're okay. But I mean, you never know. I mean, you can really have a kid who gets his feelings hurt over something like this. And that's just, again, we're talking about kids that are teenagers. They're not grown adults. They don't make the grown adults decisions all the time. So just kind of hang tight. Let's see where this thing goes. Right now my gut tells me that everything's okay with him. So let's just see how it plays out and see if Billy really does have a plan for it.
yeah. And another thing, guys, and I know this some people are gonna meet this joke with some sarcasm, but Billy's not dumb about a lot of these things. And like I said, I know some of y'all are like, ha, sure. But listen, this is probably a situation where Billy called the coaches at Lakeland and said, look, guys, we want the kid. Or maybe he just calls Ahmad Black up or somebody like that and says, hey, we want the kid. Here's the plan. You guys understand this. We've done it before. Yada yada yada. Just keep him cool. Let him know that it's a good thing. He's safe. We got a spot for him. Don't freak out and go, jump to somebody else because you got your feelings hurt. And look, it happens. It happens with 16-year-old kids. He could have his feelings hurt this week and next week be like, oh man, I get it. I was upset for a minute, but I'm cool now. And everything be all right. So we'll see how it plays out. Like I said on our Pod of the People episode that'll be out this weekend. Let's give it through the spring game and see what the word is on Keon Young, and I think that'll be cleared up for us real quickly. All right, CJ, let's talk some overhyping of the spring practices, man, and us it's telling lies and getting ready to bolster our line profile for the summer. We got to get some people, they go on vacation, they go traveling. Florida fans, we tell great lies. That's our summer plans. So let's start with offensive line. A lot of people want to know, hey, what's the offensive line? Who's the offensive line? What's it looking like? Early indications are from left to right: Barber, Harris, Slaughter, Damian George, and Crenshaw Dixon at right tackle. Sound about right to you, CJ, as far as what you were expecting?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was expecting. I really expected George to get moved back to play guard. I feel like he can be a good guard. I just don't.
He has the size.
I just don't think he was a tackle. I think it would give him a chance, let him play his natural position, and let's see what he can do. But outside of that, I thought maybe they might move Crenshaw Dixon to left tackle and put Barber back at right. I think that was about the only thing that I kind of halfway expected. But to me, it is what it is. Austin had a whole season last year playing left tackle. He's only going to be better this year. And I think Crenshaw Dixon is, fine with playing right. So I think we're okay. I think that's kind of what we expected when we looked at the offensive line. We still got some more guys that have been added that'll, I'll be curious to see where they fit into the scheme.
Yeah. And a couple of injury updates, and one pertaining to the offensive line. Waits is out for the rest of spring with what was called by Billy Napier as a soft tissue issue, which I too suffer from. So I get it. My back hurts, my leg hurts this morning. I don't know what that means. I don't know what, I don't know what it pertains to. Need to see Mr. Waits stay healthy. We know that. Obviously, the kid looks like he has a lot of potential. Had the rupture, obviously, last year of the Achilles, missed time. This going on now. Don't know what it is. We'll wait to hear more. And then, of course, the big news as far as the injuries go, Miles Graham, Billy came out, said he would miss the rest of spring due to having a procedure done on his back, something that he came in with. They tried to see if he could go with it. He did. He's, obviously you saw him in pre-spring workouts where they had the videos and they were doing, all kinds of weightlifting and tug of war and things like that. And then he was obviously participated in the first handful of practices for spring. I don't think this is anything major. I think this is one of those little go in, clean a little of this up and whatnot, and he'll be good to go. Billy said he'd be ready to go by, for fall practice. I don't have any reason to believe that's not accurate. I mean,
yeah, surgery isn't what it used to be.
These kids have procedures all the time now that you don't hear about because it's not.
Yeah, as much as the outpatient laparoscopic stuff that they can do now.
And with the facilities that we have as far as medical treatment and stuff like that. Obviously, I don't think they're doing surgeries in there, but, Shands Hospital is not real far away. So, like I said, if it was a pre-existing condition, he's been doing workouts and other things with this condition. It's probably something they just wanted to clean up and get him, better to do it now than wait and him not be ready for fall. So I think Miles will be good to go. Let's talk about some other guys that are looking pretty good out there. Word is both freshman running backs look absolutely sensational so far. And let's be honest, we're probably going to need them. I'd like to think that Montrell and Trey Webb can carry the load, but as you know, running backs are going to get beat up. Cam Carroll is still practicing with his non-contact jersey. He really hasn't revved, he's getting closer to trying to give it a go, is the word on the streets. We'll see how it goes, but it's very good news to hear that both of these freshman running backs are really looking strong, especially Kanan Daniels. Word on the street is Kanan Daniels looks like an absolute seasoned vet pretty much already, which is great. Graham Mertz has looked really, really good, as you would expect. DJ has looked like a freshman. I know that's going to surprise some folks, but makes some really great plays, and then he throws a pick here and there. He's still learning the offense, guys, and learning and getting a rapport with his wide receivers and how they run. And, he's going to make freshman mistakes, but if you believe what's out there to be told, there's a plan for DJ to get 10 plus snaps a game this fall. Now, does that happen as fall practice moves along and maybe Billy sees a little bit more of DJ and says, I don't know if we're ready for 10 plus. Maybe we start with 5 and see how it goes. That's going to be one of those as we go kind of things. Really hearing that, excuse me, Shamari DK and Khalil Jackson have looked really good at the wide receiver position, which is good. You need veteran wide receivers to step up and do their part. We've discussed DK. Maybe is he the guy that replaces Ricky Pearsall as the go-to guy for Graham? Obviously, Trey's going to get his touches, but Graham has a rapport with DK that maybe helps him out, especially in the early games, as a guy he trusts on routes on third and, medium, 3rd and 7, 3rd, 8. So the secondary, if this is to truly be believed, has looked really, really strong. Where it is, Jason Marshall has looked the best he's ever looked. Asa Turner looks like a fantastic pickup, tackling machine. And everyone that's seen DJ Douglas so far has raved about DJ Douglas. And DJ Douglas, as far as all the transfer goes, I think was maybe one of the least hyped guys because of where he came from. Not a whole lot of hype on DJ Douglas coming in, but that's a guy with a lot of experience coming into your DB room and adding, and of course, Devin Moore always looks like an all-star when he's good to go. So, they're knocking on wood, they're sacrificing chickens, doing whatever it takes to make sure Devin Moore is healthy and ready to go. CJ, of what I just talked about, what are some of the things that stand out to you as far as what you've heard and what you've read as far as what spring's looking like so far?
If you want to go off of what you've read or what I've read, I've seen things that say the offensive line is the most improved unit, and
Saw that as well.
If you don't count the secondary, they also believe that could be the most improved unit, which is great if that proves to be true. If that proves to be true, then we are in much better shape than I think any of us expected to be. Because you talk about two of the massive flaws of the team last year were the offensive line and the secondary. I'd really love to see Jason Marshall take a step forward. If he, because he's a guy who's got all the potential in the world. Was talked about at one point of being a first round pick, defensive back selection. Last year kind of put the kibosh on that. There's a lot of things. You read a lot of stuff. As far as the running backs go, people have raved about Kanan Daniels. They've raved about Ball. Both of these guys don't look like freshman running backs, which, coming from the areas that they've played in, I believe it. When you talk about Mississippi and you talk about, Georgia and the Atlanta area, those are two places that really just produce awesome, awesome talent, guys that are ready to go immediately. So, that doesn't shock me a whole lot. I've heard a lot of good stuff, like you said, about Shamray DK. Khalil Jackson is two guys that basically catch everything they're thrown. They're really solid. Shimray DK is a guy that I think has drawn a lot of attention all of a sudden. I think people are really kind of starting to buy into that hype. And I feel like that's kind of natural. I think Graham is just going to gravitate towards a guy that he's already worked with. And again, his best season was with Graham. Shimray DK didn't have a great season last year, but again, I think he dealt with some injury problems. And Wisconsin wasn't that great last year. They're going through a change with a head coach, new quarterback. It just wasn't a great season all the
I
way
don't think
around
you
for the
can say
Badgers.
that enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're looking, it was just not a great situation for anybody to really thrive in. And I think we've talked about that with Graham,
Yeah,
extensively
look how
was
much
just,
he improved just coming to a different offense.
yeah, I mean, Wisconsin, and I'm not, this isn't an indictment on Luke Fickell because Luke Fickell hasn't been there long enough for me to, say he's not the guy or doesn't know what he's doing. But Wisconsin as a whole, years prior, have not been exactly an offensive juggernaut. They haven't produced a lot of great NFL talent on the offensive side of the ball, except for maybe in the trenches, those offensive linemen, maybe a tight end or two. But like it was a different offense. It was a very old offense, very archaic, and the way they ran it. So to see him thriving in this, it's not really shocking to me. I feel like he's a guy who's again got a ton of talent, and maybe just needed to get a fresh coat of paint and get out there and figure out where he fits in this offense. No, but we've really heard a lot of good stuff. I've heard good stuff from about Manny Nunnery. Manny Nunnery has apparently looked pretty good in spring practice this year. Manny Nunnery is a guy who got in late. He played a little bit last year when he needed to. These guys can really only improve. They can't really get much worse. When you talk about guys that haven't improved, that didn't play great, that were transfers, maybe they got here in the fall. They didn't really get the whole spring experience. We got guys that dealt with injuries that didn't get to practice the full time. Just let them, keep getting these reps because that's the only way they're going to get better. Asa Turner is a guy that, we've heard tackles really well, which is important. Twyquez Bridges is another guy that just apparently tackles really well, which is very important.
You
We
can't
just have,
you can't say that enough. Tackling
yeah,
very important. We have seen what happens when you don't tackle.
right. Especially in our secondary, when we talk about guys last year that just did not tackle well. Maybe that's due in part now to the drills that we're doing with Coach Harris. He's really, him and Coach Chapman, from everything that I've read, have been very involved with both of their units on the defense. Very hands-on approach, challenging these guys. They're not very laid back as opposed to how the other coaches kind of ran their stuff last year. So it's just a different approach, and it seems to be being responded to well. So we'll just see how it goes from here.
Yeah. Another guy that I left off of there that I didn't. Well, before I get to that, something you just brought up that I wanted to talk about. You got a lot of guys right now that are realizing, man, this is it. I got to put it together. Or my dreams of playing football past this are crumbling. Um, Jason Marshall, we're looking at you. I mean, Jason Marshall's got to be the top of that list. Um, look, you came in with tons of hype. You've shown flashes. You regressed. And then last year, at times it looked like to the average fan watching at home, like you just didn't care some of the time. The infamous "what am I supposed to do here?" tweet, stands out. I think Coach Will Harris has brought a complete rejuvenation to that room with the energy he brings. Everything you see and hear about Will Harris is dude is everywhere. He yells, he screams, he's hollering. You can tell where he's at all times. If you've seen the videos of him teaching his DBs how to tackle, that's the kind of stuff. Most of those videos don't do a whole lot for me. Seeing that fires me up because that's showing guys how to properly tackle and being so invested in it that you're out there with the tackling dummy, letting guys put their hat across body like you're supposed to and drive through the tackle, not hand wrap. Oh, maybe the next guy comes and cleans it up, which we've seen so many times, and there goes Jaden Daniels for 70 yards down the field. Or whatever, name your Kentucky running back. Our LSU running back on a counter play, like tackling, especially in the secondary. Guys are going to break through the front line. It's going to happen. You're not going to, your front seven aren't going to shut down the opposing team's running game all game, and maybe unless you're Georgia or Alabama, which we're not right now. Obviously we know that. But so the secondary has to do their part. So tackling safeties, awesome. Corners that aren't afraid to come up and make a hit, awesome. That's fantastic news. I lost my spot here, man, because I got so Pup Howard has supposedly really come in with a fire under him as well. And obviously with Miles down now for the rest of spring, Pup's got to see the opportunity. It's right there for him. I mean, obviously Shamar is going to have his spot, but you talked about Manny Nunnery, Pup Howard, and Aaron Childs has just got to be sitting up there in Maryland. Just, man, please God, let me get down to Florida because I'm ready. Because I said it last week. He's my freshman that I'm really looking forward to. I think that kid, as good as I think Miles is, I think Aaron Childs might be unbelievable. So it's all wait and see. That's what we do. We read reports on how practice went. We watch some 15-minute, or we watch some 3-minute video clips, and we get hyped and we tell lies and we bump ourselves up to thinking, you know what, maybe we win 9 games this year. Because that's what a fan does. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's that portion of the fan base that's also going to be like, I ain't falling for it. You're not getting me this year. 2 years in a row, I've gotten hyped up for this mess just to get let down. Billy's got to show me. And guess what, guys? If you're that fan, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I would say, hey, err on the side of caution this year. Think, maybe we'll win 5 or 6 and be pleasantly surprised and happy if we win more. Now, I know most fans can't do that. Most of us sit here and be like, no, I need 7, 8 wins out of this team. I need to see progression. And we do need to see progression. So hopefully what we're hearing as far as coaches being more active and more excited, which was missing last year, which is why a couple of those coaches are no longer with us. These are things that all come together and make this team a little bit more energetic, because that is the one thing that I continue to hear is that in the building, there is so much more of a sense of urgency all the way around. These guys, you got to remember, these kids committed to play football for Billy Napier. They like Billy Napier. I've heard very few people, and I'm not talking about Princely doing an interview at Ole Miss and trashing Florida because that's what he does. There's reasons guys aren't here anymore. A lot of them, these guys some of them love Billy, man. They want Billy to succeed, and they want to succeed for Billy. So there's this huge sense of urgency, and I hope it pays off. But we got this, you got to see it. You got to see it for the rest of spring. You got to see something in the orange and blue game that excites the fan base, because if you come out to another 10-7 orange and blue game, people are going to be like, nothing's changed. And it's a barometer. And we've said it the last couple of spring games. You've gotten, I think CJ was that. Yeah, I believe that was you that might have said that the last couple of spring games gave a barometer of what was to come. So, I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that, it's one of those things that's like, the old saying is, it's not nearly as bad as you think, but it's also not as good as you think either.
It never is.
It's somewhere in the middle. I think that's kind of the mindset we need to have. Listen, I'm going to take the Florida State fan approach to all this. I'll start talking trash when we start winning again. Otherwise, I'm going to be kind of a ghost. But no, I think that it's one of those things where we just got to wait and see it. I mean, I understand, like, we all want to win, and we all want to believe that we're going in the right direction, or some of you have just completely, thrown that out the window, and we'll never believe that we're going in the right direction. Billy could win 10 games this year, and you'd still find a reason to complain. But I get like a lot of you that are very realistic about it, because I try to be very realistic about the season. And like I said, I'm at 6.5. That's my win total. If we can get more than that, awesome. But I mean, I'm right there towing the line. I mean, it's just one of those things where I'm like, you got to put it together. There's a lot of pieces. I think this is probably, talent wise, this might be the best team that Billy Napier has had since he's been here. And I understand that the Anthony Richardsons are going to come out, but I mean, outside of Anthony, man, what else was that team doing? There's just a lot of question marks left. But I think talent wise, if we just go on this team, the players we have, I think this is the best group of talent that we've had to work with in the last 3 seasons. So let's see what Billy Napier can do with it. Now you've given him a chance to get a lot of his guys. Um, you've made some changes at the coaching. Try to fix some of that. Um, and by all accounts, right now it seems to be being responded to well, which is, sometimes that's all it needs. I mean, you talk about like emotion. Emotion plays a large part into how you play the game. If you can, even if it's only for this season, if Will Harris is only really effective for this 1 year of getting guys energized and ready to play, and you have to move on soon and go to somebody else because it was just to try to get through. I think that's kind of where we're all at the moment. I think we'd all just like to win, and get some kind of glimmer of real hope. Just win now, win something. We're not. I don't think. I think all of us are being very reasonable and like me, and only asking just like, hey man, can we go 7-5 and just not get embarrassed so much? I mean, if we get embarrassed by Texas, okay. We get embarrassed by Georgia, okay. But the rest of them, man, we shouldn't. We
and
shouldn't look like
look
we're
confident on
playing a
special
different game.
teams.
Right. There's
Yeah,
simple things. Just the situational play calling has got to improve. There's a lot of things that were done that made no sense. You've got to be able to take the talent that you got, some of this great talent that I was talking about, and put them in positions to succeed. Make sure that they get their chance with the football. I think that's super important and how the success of the season is going to go. Make sure that Eugene Wilson has as many touches as you can get him, because the guy can change a game. He can flip it on its head. You've got to use guys like that. You've recruited him. You know what he can do. This is a guy that you picked out, that you wanted. So you got to take advantage of it. I mean, I feel like the fire's there. Listen, if Billy is unmotivated, as folks might have you to believe, then it is what it is. But there's no way you can't come into this season as a football coach that really cares and not be motivated, because it's like, man, I was a successful coach. I won a lot. I was one of the highest or the hottest prospects, as far as coaching goes, for vacant coaching jobs when I got hired. People really liked what I was doing, and now they've talked about me for the last couple of seasons like I'm an idiot.
yep.
At some point, that's got to burn you up and get you ready to be the coach. Be like, I'm going to show you, and if it doesn't, then Billy's not the guy. I mean, that's facts. That's just the
It's
way
that
that works.
simple.
If he doesn't have the fire in his gut to be like, yeah, I'm going to prove every single one of you guys that wrote every article about me, that wrote every article about this team wrong, and that goes for all the players too. They've got to have that same fire in their gut of everybody that sent me a mean tweet, every writer that wrote I didn't know what I was doing, all these guys. I'm going to show you how good I am. If you can get that mindset and bottle it, and kind of get the whole team to think that way. We've seen what kind of wonders an underdog, everybody's counting us out mentality can do for teams that are not underdogs and everybody is not counting them out. We need to have that mentality, because right now we are in that position. We are the guys that nobody thinks can win. So somebody has got to get a grip and realize, man, I'm tired of getting talked to like I'm a dog. I'm tired of people making fun of us. I'm tired of guys leaving this program and going on social media to sit on a couch with two bozos and talk about how they didn't learn anything and played with a bunch of bums and the quarterback wouldn't talk to me and all this other crap.
Playing with
Let
your
that
feelings hurt.
like at some points you got to let that eat you up. Be like, we're going to show you how good we are, and if we can't do that, then we're going to have to move on, and we're going to have to get some different guys around the program that actually want that. And and I believe that we have a group of guys now that actually think that way, that all believe that way. And I believe that we could definitely see the results of it on the field this year.
I agree 100% with everything you said. It boils down to how bad do you want it? Obviously, as the players, but Billy Napier, how bad do you want to not be called, you know, Bayou Billy and all this corny damn nicknames that these people have for you? Now, granted, if you're a head coach, you're not reading that crap and giving two craps. But like you said, in the back of your mind, part of you's like, all right, this isn't going to be my legacy. It may be someone else's legacy. We've watched the Willie Taggarts of the world and all that get called stuff and then fade off into irrelevancy. But not me. My dad was a coach. I came up under Dabo and Nick Saban and all these other coaches, and I've got, their faith in me was not misplaced. I'm going to get out here and win some damn football games that we shouldn't, and we're going to give everybody our best effort come the fall. You're going to feel us the next day. Win or lose, you're going to feel us the next day. And that's got to be the attitude. You know what, guys? Hey, we had to go to damn Austin, Texas to play a top 5 team in the country. We gave it our best shot. Maybe we came up a few points short, but guess what? They feel our ass today. And that's got to be the mentality each week. And, but once again, it all goes back to you got to show us as fans. I mean, obviously, you want to buy in. We got to see it, man, because we haven't. We've seen glimmers. We've seen fight, like you said. We saw AR in Knoxville fighting Tennessee tooth and nail. But hey, was that just AR? I mean, was that the whole collective group fighting for a coach they believed in? You got to show us. It's just, you can't say it enough. So, guys, that's all the updates we got for this week, man. We're going to keep you updated moving on as we get closer here to spring game. It's right here around the bend. Hopefully we got some more exciting updates to share next week. Nothing negative. Hopefully the injuries stay low and the positivity and the can do stays high. CJ, we took 2 out of 3 at LSU, man. We talked about it last week. Said if we could take the series at LSU, that would be a big statement for the team. And of course, then we come back and we lose to Florida State. Midweek games continue to plague us. Obviously, winning a series in Baton Rouge is way bigger than losing a game midweek against FSU. Yeah. What's your pulse on the team right now coming out of this, going into the weekend?
We're playing Mississippi State this weekend, and Mississippi State, always a very good baseball team. They take it very serious in Mississippi. That baseball is what they live for over there. So definitely a team that you need to win a series against to prove that you're still in that upper echelon. And again, that kind of smooths over those midweek issues. We saw a lot of that from the reporters that were out. It's like, Florida, they have their midweek struggles, but when you play them with their guys on the weekend, when it counts, they're one of the best teams in the country. I don't know, what the answer is with the midweek stuff right now. I know Kevin O'Sullivan was interviewed and he is not having it anymore. He said he's done. He's tired of it. So I was told to expect some wholesale changes to the way we're doing things, from how practices run to how the pitching order, the batting order, all that stuff is about to get flipped on its head. Because, again, Kevin O'Sullivan, as idle as some of people might think he is, man doesn't like to lose. He's been a winning baseball coach his entire time here. He's one of the guys when you talk about Mount Rushmore coaches at the University of Florida. He's on the list. Um, so he's not a guy that's going to sit around and just lose. He's been working. He's trying to figure this out. He's like I said, he's at the point now where he's had enough. So I expect him to do a lot of changes. I expect the team to do a lot of soul searching at this point because again, you can watch the team play against LSU on the road, and that's the defending national champions, and you just have back to back to back home runs like you're playing home run derby out there. And that's impressive to take a team like that and get 2 wins on their field. You never really got embarrassed, even in the game that you lost. Um, you showed a lot of promise. You've shown how good you can be with the bat. I think that's a lot of my question too. I get the pitching struggles midweek, but these guys are the same batters we have during the weekend. They've got to start to really take it serious. And I know it's easy to get down on yourself whenever it's like, man, the pitch is just giving up run after run. What we do with the bat ain't gonna matter. And it affects the whole team, but they've got to understand that they could change a game by themselves. Like last year, the guys just had seemed like a different attitude towards it, because we faced a lot of the same pitching struggles last year. This was nothing super new. We talked about the bullpen struggles last year. That was a whole conversation. As oh my God, Florida's bullpen is so bad, they're terrible. But the guys rallied around each other with their bats, and we're like, man, we're just going to try to score 50, and see if they can, just. And I think that needs to become the mentality now too. I think you've got the guys to do it. You talk about some really solid guys with the bat this year. You've got Luke Heyman that could swing the bat. You've got Shellnut that could swing the bat. Of course, Jack Caglione and Shelton, and then there's Curlin. There's guys in the lineup that can really hit the ball. They've just got to really get a different attitude, I think, about the thing, and just say, I'm not going out like that. And I think that would solve a lot of it. And again, it's just a wanting it. Like I said, it's easy to get down on yourself when your pitcher has a bad night, and it's like, man, it don't matter how many points we score. This guy can't find the zone. We don't have a pitcher, and I get that from a frustration standpoint. But these guys, like I said, with their bats, they could turn a game on its head. So I'm curious to see what Sully's going to do. Like I said, this because he's pretty adamant that this ain't gonna work. We're not gonna do this. I'm getting tired of this. So I think we're gonna see some changes. But again, when you talk about Florida right now, I think their midweek struggles might hurt them in getting a top 8 regional, which is the goal. But I think if you continue to be this good and we go into SEC play and we win series after series against SEC teams, I don't think that they could not let you host a super regional. I think that I think you're going to be able to host one. I don't see how you could be left out. Definitely the midweek pitching. The only thing you worry about with the midweek pitching is the tournament, because you rely so much on those guys to get you through those regionals. Those guys are going to have to play. Um, you can't just hold on to those 4 pitchers you have and see if they figure it out. That's not gonna cut it. So the other guys have to step up. Like I said, I know that there's work being done behind the scenes. Nobody is just sitting around being cool with this. Again, I understand you don't like to lose to Florida State. I don't like to lose to Florida State, but they haven't beaten us in a series since 2015. And even when they beat us in 2015 in a series, we stomped them in the regionals and went on from there. So I mean, what does it really matter? Again, that could be our situation. We could see Florida State again in the postseason. If you win those games, I don't really give a crap what you did in March against them in the midweek, right? Like I don't think any of us do. So if that's the way you look at things, is let's get to the summer, let's keep winning these weekend series. If our biggest worry is trying to figure out how to beat these midweek teams, which teams that a lot of them we kind of out talent, we've got better players than a lot of these teams, and we can get that figured out. I think that we're okay. I mean, if you're constantly beating the teams that really matter in your quest for SEC championships and SEC regionals and those things, then I think that you're okay. But no, I mean, you talk about some guys that have just absolutely been on fire. Jack Caglione continues to be ridiculously good. Last year we talked about his, oh man, he's great with the bat, but maybe he's not a pitcher anymore. Maybe that Tommy John's messed him up. And I talked about it with Nick De La Torre last year. With I was like, he's going to take another season to get control back, but once he gets control back, Jack was brought in here to be a pitcher. He wasn't brought in to bat. He was a great pitcher in high school. This is what they wanted him to do. So now here he is, and he's showing you he can absolutely shove when it comes to pitching when he's got control of that baseball. Just ridiculous. He's a ridiculous player. And then of course, Colby Shelton has been phenomenal. A guy that we've added out of the transfer portal that has come in and just lit the scoreboard up. The guys, I think he's got 12 or 13 home runs on the season. I mean, him
He's
and Jack
insane.
Caglione they're gonna race all year for hitting these home runs. You've seen Ty Evans come back on strong, which we always knew. Ty Evans had a really weird up and down season last year. He got to the Omaha games of the World Series, and he's kind of picked up now this season where he left off. So there's definitely talent on the team. Obviously, when you beat teams like Texas A&M, you go on the road, you beat LSU, you beat Miami, who Miami is no slouch. Miami's got a pretty good baseball team this year. They've been very competitive in their weekend series against the other ACC schools. Um, I think that you still got all your goals in front of you. I think Florida is in still a pretty good spot. Just keep it rolling. Like I said, once we get to the regionals and stuff, then we can really start to worry about who we need to beat there. The midweek pitching, then you can kind of be like, man, I hope we got that fixed because you're going to need those guys. But again, I still have seen Kevin O'Sullivan take a team like this and really fix it through the season. And by the end of the year, it's one of the better pitching units in the country. Like I said, last year we talked about the bullpen being pretty shoddy. And you got to the end of the year and they were solid. They did their job. Were they elite? No, but they did their job. And I think that's all we're trying to do now is we need guys to start doing their jobs and stop spotting 5 or 6 runs, before we get out of the third inning. Kevin O'Sullivan, he's going to have to work on that. We're going to have to work. We're going to have to get better. But on the flip flop, FSU's pretty damn good this year too. They're not a
They're a good
bad
squad.
baseball team.
And you said it before the season started that they were going to be much improved under that coach.
Yeah, Link has done a good job. I knew Link would. Everybody kind of was like laughing it off last year. Oh, look at Florida State, same old Florida State. And I was like, it's going to take a little while. They're going to have to, have another. I don't even think I expected him to be this much improved this year. But, with the transfer portal and everything, you can do it now. And he's a heck of a coach. The guy's done a great job. It's his alma mater. It's where he played. He cares a lot about their success. So I think that it's they've taken a step forward. They're definitely a team that you could see hosting their regional at the end of the year. Florida State missed the tournament altogether last year. That was not typical Florida State. Florida State had a long streak where they always were in the tournament. They didn't miss it. They always played. Florida State is, a rich baseball program. They played great over the years. Mike Martin is a historic coach, rest his soul. But they want to get back to that too. And we've just got to accept the fact that we're not going to beat them every year anymore. They went through some years where it was rough, and I just don't see them. They don't want to do that again. Like I said, they've got a coach that's invested. You've added a transfer portal where you can get better faster. You don't have to rely on taking all these kids from high school and then working through this and developing because we see it with Sully how long sometimes these pitchers take to catch on. And other programs don't have that much time. So I think that we've done a good job up to this point. I think, like I said, there are some frustrations. The midweek stuff needs to improve. I think that that's been acknowledged by everybody in the program. I don't think anybody's got their head in the sand on this thing. But I also, see the bigger picture of if you're beating Texas A&M and you're beating LSU, and if you go in this weekend and you beat Mississippi State, you are still one of the best baseball teams in the country. Like I said, you've got your flaws, but when the gloves come off and you actually go to that weekend series and you put your best out there, you can compete with anybody.
Yeah, man. I was so pumped up after that LSU series. I'm going to be very honest. I just don't pay attention to the midweek series. And I know some people do, and some people are very steadfast that this is going to end up biting us in the butt. And it may well do that. But I want to see us get through SEC play and continue winning series against the best teams in the country. And I'm going to be chill until we get to regionals and see how it goes from there. But like you said, I also want to see how Sully responds with his comments. You know, you said Sully is not one to pull punches. If he says it, that dude is mad.
Yeah.
He's an old school baseball coach, man. So we'll see how it turns out.
Let him improve. Like I said, just let him get back.
Now is the time, man. Work on these things. And
you got to learn. I mean, these guys are going to have to learn. Kevin O'Sullivan is not a guy. He talked about it a while ago. He said these aren't unexperienced pitchers. These guys have all played. They played through the summer and they played through the fall, and these guys have had plenty of pitches. And he's not babying them by any stretch. These guys are made to be elite pitchers. That's what he wants. He's developed them before. He's got guys in the big leagues getting drafted in the first round.
I was gonna say Wyatt Langford ain't walking through that door this year because he's too busy making the roster for the Texas.
Yeah, I mean, again, you talk about all the guys that he's got. You've got guys that are playing in the bigs that even that left this team last year. You lost multiple players that were key parts of the team. You lost Waldrop, you lost Sproat, you lost Langford.
Waldrop's going to be in Atlanta before the season's over. Like, I mean, you've got two guys that are going to be playing on major league rosters this year.
Right. You got, that's the way it is. And we're going to have to go through it again. But that's just how, that's the cost of being a really good baseball team. I mean, Jack Caglione, I don't see how an organization doesn't take that guy first. I mean, he can do both so well.
Somebody's going to have to make a decision. And not just where to pick him, but do we want to try, with the recent success, obviously, of Shohei and showing that it can be done? There's a decision some GM's going to have to make, and it's not going to be an easy one.
Yeah, because, I mean, like I said, you're talking about a guy who does both so well. And I understand this season it would be disappointing to not go further because of Jack, because that's how good he is. But I've also been in the same mindset of understanding, man, we had a great season last year. We've got the program doing really good. You were one game away from being national champions. If this year isn't your year, then so be it. Every year can't be our year. So I think that's another thing you got to keep in perspective. And I understand the idea of, it's Florida. We should be competing for championships every year. And I agree with you to an extent, but man,
you're a top 10 team right now. You are competing for a championship.
Yeah, I mean, like I understand, but you gotta calm down about these midweek games. I mean, you guys have to take a breath. Like, stop watching them and just watch the weekend series if that helps.
Got to do what you got to do, man.
Right.
All right, guys, man, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Of course, we missed the hype man. This episode probably would have gone a lot longer if the hype man would have been here. He would have been talking about all from what he's seen in spring practice, that we were definitely going 12-0 and making the playoffs and playing for a championship next year, because that's what the hype man does. So I have to put in that hype for him right now. He'd have been hyping up his NCAA bracket on our Respect Our Decision group. So, I'm hyping up a little bit for him just so he's well represented. We love you, Wes. We'll see you next week. CJ, what you got for the people before we jump out of here?
Just make sure you guys are checking out the Facebook, check out the Twitter page, like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube videos, drop questions down below if you guys have got it. Keep a lookout for our Respect Our Decision Pot of the People prompt that we put out. If you have a question there, to put it there. This week's episode's already been recorded, so if you're putting it on this week's, we won't be able to get to it. So just keep a lookout for it next week. If you got a question, bank it, remember it, or put it down below in the comments here. Also, check out our friends at Florida Victorious. Use our code DECISION like I said, they got a ton of stuff coming up for members of Florida Victorious.
And they got some good looking stuff out there right now.
I mean, they're going to be doing a lot of stuff for you guys with the spring game coming up. If you want to get ahead, Hirsch has talked about basketball being really heavy into the portal. You got some really big pieces on that basketball team you got to replace next year. So if you want to help out with that, that's you're supporting our athletes. You're helping us get a leg up on recruiting. So use our code decision and check those guys out. Florida Victorious. Also check out our friends at Alma Mater. Use our link. Buy all the kinds of stuff that you want there. They've got all kinds of stuff: hats, t-shirts, hoodies. They've got the new, Florida's kind of adopted the Florida baseball script. They've got a hoodie with that on it now.
A lightweight hoodie. It's very short.
Right. It's a nice hoodie. Everybody raves about it. So, it's just as good as anything else you're going to get. And you're buying it from people that actually care about the University of Florida and our Gators. And a lot of the stuff supports Gator athletes. They have jerseys and things like that, different t-shirt designs that are player related that goes back to them. So if you want some merch with Jack Caglione on it, or you want punters or people two shirts with our our special teams friends over there, if you want to check those out,
Nick Gator, appreciate your plug.
That's right. So check those guys out and give them some help. They it's really appreciated. And like I said, they're fellow Gators just like us, and you're supporting them. So where else would you want your money to go? But other than that, no, thank you guys so much for everything you've done for the show. We're growing exponentially as we rock on along to football season coming up. It'll be here before you know it. We're knocking on the door of the spring game. So keep following along with us for updates and things like that at all our different social media platforms. We're everywhere you can find us. So just check us out there. Check out our individual Twitter handles as well. We conversate on there. Me and Hirsch do a bit of trolling. So if you're into that kind of thing, check that out.
Never too proud to troll some Tennessee fans, or I try to be a little, it depends on what the Florida State person says when I troll them. Obviously, they've been a little better than us lately, so I got to be careful.
Yeah,
but every once in a while, they say something really stupid, and you have to call them out on it.
Right.
Or an ex-running back may have gotten a DUI and joined the Fast and the Furious family at UGA.
That's not that big of a deal, Hirsch, right?
I mean, I lived through the Urban Meyer era when we didn't have social media, and I was defending people on Facebook or wherever we were at the time. Look, man, 57 arrests is not that many, okay? It's all right.
40 of them were misdemeanors.
AKAs in the trunks of cars were not a big deal, all right? We'll be all right. No, hey, Kirby don't care. I just call it what it is. But anyway, guys, I'm not going down that path. I'm sure most of y'all have already checked out. But if you haven't, we appreciate you so much for making it all the way to the end of the show. We love each and every one of y'all for your support, helping our growth, keeping us motivated to just keep pumping out more content. And that's what we're going to do, man. And until next week, go Gators.
Go Gators.